So you might think Wotan's victory at the end of part one was, the end of the story. But you'd be wrong. It was just the beginning of a whole new and honestly, a much more terrifying war. The battlefield has totally changed. It's not physical anymore, it's metaphysical. And his enemy? Definitely not human. This is the setup for the Overman's new war.
And this quote, man, it just nails his new reality, doesn't it? He fought so hard to get past the coastal reefs of the herd, and he finally broke free. But his prize isn't some peaceful paradise. It's this endless, terrifyingly open ocean. Victory has basically stranded him, and there's absolutely no going.
And that's really the core of it, right? He achieved his ultimate goal. He became the meaning of the earth. But that wasn't the solution to his problems. It was the trigger for a way bigger one. The story is shifting from this philosophical fight against humanity to what the source material calls a full-blown cosmic horror confrontation. So let's kick things off by digging into that very idea, victory's terrifying consequence. We're about to see how Wotan's greatest triumph pretty much unleashed a crisis of metaphysical proportions. See, in part one, his enemy was something he could see and touch, the suffocating mediocrity of the herd. It was a fight he could wrap his head around, and yeah, eventually win. But now, he's facing the void itself. I mean, how do you even fight that? How do you punch nothingness? How do you conquer a complete absence? This is his new abstract war. And that kind of abstract battle, well, it leads us right here, to the idea of warring with a shadow. Because when you're all alone in a void, the only enemy you're likely to find is a twisted version of yourself. Right. That external battle is over. The suffocating weight of human delusion is gone. But think about it. When you get rid of all that outside pressure, you're left with this vacuum inside. And, nature abhors a vacuum. Something is about to rush in and fill that empty space. And what rushes in is Faustus. He's basically Wotan's dark mirror image. If Wotan is the pure embodiment of the creative will to power, that drive to build and make new values, Faustus is that exact same will, but it's bound by a contract of negation. He's a being of equal power, but he's dedicated entirely to unmaking things. The war isn't against the little people anymore, it's against his own shadow. So this brings us to this absolutely wild concept, something designed for this new kind of war. If your enemy is a being with no limits, a normal prison is useless. You need something special. You need a God-sized cage. And who's the architect of this thing? None other than Mephistopheles. He's not just sitting on the sidelines making snarky comments anymore. Oh no, he's stepping onto the stage as an empowered tempter, and he's actively engineering this metaphysical trap. He's gone from critic to director, and Wotan is his star actor. So what's this trap made of? This is where it gets really clever and kind of twisted. It's built from the very thing Wotan thought he'd already beaten, slave morality. Mephistopheles takes all those old human weaknesses, pity, the desire for comfort, guilt, and he weaponizes them. He forges them into this incredibly sophisticated cage, one that's designed not to break Wotan's body, but to trap his will. Which brings us back to that central, massive question for part two. How in the world do you trap someone who has no limits? You don't use iron bars. You use ideas. You turn their own terrible freedom into a weapon against them. But, the trap isn't just external. In a cruel twist of irony, Wotan's greatest philosophical victory has become its own kind of prison. And that brings us to this idea of an exhausting eternity. Okay, so think about how this plays out. First, he makes the ultimate affirmation by embracing the eternal recurrence. He's willing to live his life exactly as it is over and over forever. But then comes the consequence. That ultimate freedom starts to feel like an exhausting repetition, and that's the real test. It becomes this constant referendum on height. Can he sustain that godlike perspective forever, or will he eventually break and crave the sweet oblivion of human comfort? And all of this shadow self, this metaphysical cage, this exhausting eternity, it's all building towards one single critical moment. Our final section here. The final desolate choice. And this is where we see the two paths, the two kinds of power laid bare. On one side, you've got Wotan's sovereignty, which is all about self-creation, about giving new laws, about building something. But on the other side, Faustus offers a different kind of power, pure consumption. His is just this hollow, power-hungry pursuit to rule, not over a new world, but over its ashes. It's the ultimate showdown, creator versus consumer. So this is where Wotan is left. He's the only law on a silent planet, and he has this brutal choice to make. With all the power in the universe, what does he do? Does he go through the backbreaking work of building a new harsh Olympus from scratch? Or does he just give in and preside over the gray wasteland he created, a king with nothing left to rule but himself? And that leaves us with the big, haunting question that part 2 is wrestling with. After you've won, after you've beaten the entire world and become its sole reason for being, what's next? I mean, really, when you become the only thing of value, is there anything left to create?